What am I gonna catch on this little grasshopper lure?
There he is. Got one. There we go. There's one.
I just got done working for the day, and now here I am on my paddleboard, and I'm actually on an elevated seat, my friends. I rigged up a cheap Igloo cooler, and I'm sitting high up on the paddleboard. It's super comfortable. I am a huge fan of this, and the wind is not blowing, so ultimately it should be great. That all being said, today I've got an ultralight with me, and you know the drill. I am after whatever bites. I don't care what species I catch, I just want to catch some. And more specifically, I do have a Rebel Crickhopper rigged up. This is an absolutely time-tested and proven lure right here. I have nothing but admiration for the little Rebel Crickhopper, as well as some of the other Rebel series. These are really inexpensive, but they straight up catch fish. And today I'm hoping to show that. Now, if this doesn't work, I've got other stuff with me as well. But for starters, we're gonna go ahead with the Crickhopper, and we're gonna twitch it around, and hopefully we can catch some panfish, maybe some bass. Who knows? You never really know what's gonna catch. So, without further ado, let's get started.
I gotta say, I totally see why people rig up a cooler to use on the paddleboard. I don't think that I'll do this often because usually there's some wind. Today it's very, very calm. If there was any wind, I feel like I'd get pushed around a lot. But on days like today, man, this is awesome. I like sitting up like this. It's really comfortable. All right, Rebel Crickhopper, let's see what you got. Now, I think what's really cool about this bait is that you can work it a couple different ways. You know, you can work this like a little surface plug and just twitch it a few times and then pause it, almost like a little popper. Or you can work it like a jerk bait, or you can work it like a crankbait. It's got that little diving lip just like a crankbait would have. But because it's a grasshopper profile, I feel like it's obviously a great idea to just kind of work it on the surface. Oh my gosh, a bass came and tried to eat it while I was cranking it. Let's see if he's still around. I might have spooked him. That was kind of weird. He probably saw my paddleboard, so he's probably not here anymore. Got one. There we go. I had a bite. Oh, shoot. He popped off. These little tiny hooks, man, they can be kind of challenging. I had a bite 2 casts in a row, and he got off both times. It's a bummer. Oh, he came up and hit it again. I mean, there's probably a couple different fish in that brush pile. I doubt if this is the same fish that I just hooked a second ago. Little small bass, I think. Yeah, just a little bass. All right, well, I don't want to horse him too much. These hooks are really small. Well, he stayed hooked on a big jump. That's good. I think I've got him pretty good. It's just an ultralight rod right here. So I'm trying not to horse him, especially with those little tiny treble hooks. Look at there, I actually hooked him really good. I was gonna say, these hooks can be a little tricky because they're very, very small, but this fish got it really good. Well, it's not exactly a big bass, but at least we caught a fish. And I now have confidence that they're willing to come up and eat that little crickhopper. Okay, well, he was tight to a brush pile. And that's kind of what I like to fish this thing around, just shallow cover. Casting this thing up right in the shallows, especially in like shady areas or areas that you think maybe like a bug would fall in the water, that's usually where I like to throw it. You know, even if you really try to crank this thing down, it doesn't get very deep, so you're really going to be primarily fishing really shallow water, and that's why I like to get really tight to cover and really tight to the bank. So I've had several bluegill come up and try to eat this thing, but they're all pretty small and they're not getting their mouth around the hooks. A decent sunfish that's aggressive enough will absolutely take down the treble hooks on these things. They have really, really small treble hooks, which makes them slightly tricky sometimes to land fish with, but at the same time, those small treble hooks also open up the doors for big jumbo sunfish. There's one. There we go. I was just creeping it real slow out in front of that little shade line. And again, nothing to write home about, but I didn't necessarily think I was going for giants today. After all, I'm using a little 1.5 inch bait. There you go. Good times, man. There you go. There he is. It's not the same one. It's a little bigger. They're all about the same size, just little dinky ones, but man, that was a cool bite. I was creeping it real slow, and I saw him dart out of nowhere and just annihilated this thing, and he took off with it. Now I'm hooking him real good. He's a skinny fish. He needs a real meal. See you, buddy. Well, looky there. I hooked somebody's Ritz cracker bag. I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. I'll put that right here for now, and we will dispose of that properly. It's my most prized catch yet. There's two primary retrieves I've been doing today. The first one is just casting it up way in the shallows and basically just really lightly twitching it and then pausing. And that's more of like a surface presentation, really trying to get them to come up and snatch it off the surface. The one that's actually caught me most of my fish so far is just a really, really slow, steady retrieve. If you reel this bait too fast, it will start to track improperly. It'll start going left or right. But if you wind it super, super slow, it just has like a really nice, tantalizing motion. Eat it, bluegill. They're coming up and, come on, hit it. Get the hooks. I'm telling you, if these were like 8 or 9 inch bluegill, they'd be slamming it and getting the hooks all the way, but they're all like 3 to 5 inches and they're just not committing. It's definitely possible to catch small bluegill on this bait. They just have to be willing to eat it all the way. Oh my gosh, did you see that? I was reeling it up to make another cast, and I reeled it real fast, and right in front of my paddleboard, he hammered it. That's my best one yet. Holy smokes. Huh. Well, that was wild. That was bonkers. There you go. He likes the crickhopper. All right, let's avoid hooks in my hand. Nice thing about these hooks is even if I do get one in a finger, I can just rip it right out. It's so small. Not that I want to do that, but if it happens, it happens. Chunky little bass. About the same caliber as all the other ones, but a little bit bigger. And now here I am back in the tree. Dadgum tree. I'm just squatting in a tree right now. God, these bluegill. There, he got it. These are the type of fish that keep nipping at it, but they're not getting it. Dadgummit, he unhooked himself. I wanted to show you, but as you can see, it was like a 4-inch bluegill. They keep nipping at it. They're not getting it. That one finally did. There's a nice one. Right out in front of that dock. He was probably chilling in the shade. Oh, there's another one right behind him. Exact same size. There was one right behind him trying to take the grasshopper out of his mouth. That was sick. All right, get up here. All right. This is probably my best fish yet. Not exactly saying much, but I'll take it during the heat of the day, during the summer with an ultralight rod. Not too bad. See ya, buddy. There's one. Did I finally do it? Did I finally catch a bluegill? And it is an absolute behemoth. I gotta be honest with you. I expected mostly bass today, but the fact that this is my first landed bluegill is pretty absurd to me. Not only did I land him, I literally hooked him really good. For a fish with a tiny mouth, that's pretty impressive. Look at that. Absolute micro. He's got it. Oh, do I still have him? Yes, I do. Sweet. That was textbook right there. That fish actually, I think this might be a green sunfish bluegill hybrid, believe it or not. There are a few of those in here, and that's definitely what this is. And I put this thing up there in the way shallows, and I just let it sit there, and that fish came up and popped it. I'm telling you, today hasn't necessarily done this bait justice. I would say that's a very common bite, is literally casting it up in the shallows, letting it sit, and a sunfish will just pound it. And this fish, as you can see, has a bigger mouth because that's a hybrid. It's definitely half green sunfish, and they have bigger mouths. And his mouth is actually jacked up. It's like sideways. Sorry, buddy. Good luck with that. Just a little small sunfish, but fortunately, that's number 2 from a sunfish standpoint.
So here we are, a little over halfway through the trip, and I gotta be honest with you, the Rebel Crickhopper did the job, but it didn't do quite as well as I was hoping. You know, I only caught the 2 sunfish, and then other than that, it was all bass, and they all kind of came on a real slow and steady retrieve. So I decided I'm going to switch things up, and I actually just rigged up the Rebel Craw, which is just a tiny crankbait style bait, and it's just a little crawfish profile, and I'm gonna slow and steady reel that thing in, and my guess is we'll probably catch some more bass, but you never really know. It's another multi-species bait, and I gotta say, for both of the baits that I'm fishing with today, I highly recommend throwing them in creeks and rivers. I think that's definitely a great spot for them. They obviously work in ponds and lakes and everything else, but I wish I was creek fishing right now, if I'm being honest with you. Anyways, let's get back to fishing.
I trust I'm gonna catch one on the craw before the day's through, but I gotta be honest with you, it is not working all that well. The conditions are just not right for moving baits. I was super stubborn and I wanted to fish with moving baits, and that's what I did, but the reality is I should have fished the conditions and I should have slowed down. I think a micro drop shot today would have been really effective. Even just like a slow falling jig and plastic would have been fine, but this little bit faster paced reaction bait's just not right for today's conditions. The fish are just way too sluggish for this type of stuff. Well, I simply cannot believe it. I fished this thing 1,000 casts, approximately, and I didn't catch a single fish. I had some close calls, but not a single fish. That boggles my mind. This bait right here, it didn't show it today, but I promise you, this is a tried and true. It usually is a never fail. Today, it failed. I had to do it. I rigged up a Mule Minnow 1.2 solely so I could catch a couple of these pesky fish that have been short striking all day, and there you have it. Dinky little gill. It ain't much, but at least it's a fish caught. See, that's the kind of stuff I needed to be able to do with the Rebel Craw. I couldn't get that Rebel Craw way up under a dock like that. When you use a jig, it's much easier to shoot or skip under a dock. And in that case, I literally shot a little Mule Minnow 1.2 on a 1/80th ounce mule jig way up under that dock. And that's where this bass was sitting. I think a lot of these fish are just super, super finicky right now. They're real lethargic. They're not necessarily chasing fish. They're just kind of sitting up in shallow spots that are really, really shady. And so you need to be able to cast tight to cover, is kind of what I'm thinking. Either way, thanks for the fight, buddy. I think if I just went around and shot docks with this little tiny thing for the rest of the day, I'd probably catch a bunch of fish. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time. There's another one. Oh, little tiny bluegill. But there you go. They can obviously get their mouth around that tiny hook a little bit easier than the treble hook. Not exactly a giant fish, but it's another fish, and on a slow day, I'll take anything I can get. Oh. Well, that is an absolute micro. Honestly, that's quite impressive. I hooked him really good. I felt the bite, man. If you can feel a bite on a fish like that, you've got the right kind of equipment, my friends. That's what I like to see. I should have probably rigged that guy up on a hook. That'd be bass candy. Well, today's fishing trip did not go as planned. I was hoping to catch a whole bunch of fish on the Rebel baits, but unfortunately I was super stubborn and I fished with them in conditions that were just not right for them. I promise you the Rebel baits are super awesome. They're time tested and proven. They've been around for a long, long time and they've caught a ton of different fish in tons of different circumstances. Today it was just a typical summer pattern, sluggish fish. I should have slowed down from the start, but I was stubborn, like I said. Either way, make sure to stay tuned because I will fish with those Rebel baits again in the future. And next time when I fish with them, I'm gonna fish them in the proper conditions. So that way I can truly pay tribute to just how much I respect Rebel baits. I feel like they're really cool. And I wanna make a video that really showcases just how well they can do. And today, I feel like I kind of failed. Either way, truly appreciate you watching all the way to the end of the video. If you have not clicked subscribe already, make sure to do so. It really does help. Have a good day. We'll catch you next time.